Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. We are continuing our shir on the topic of lahatzil chavero, of how far you have to go in order to save your friend from danger. Are you chayiv to go into a suffix sakana in order to save your friend from a vade sakana? We're basing ourselves in the sefer Divrei Yatziva, the Holy Kloisenberger Rebbe Zecher Tzaddik V'Kodesh L'Vracha, in Siman Ayin Tes in Chelek Vav, and now we're on Os Beis. Reb Shlomo Kluger was Machadish, as he saw in the previous shir, that if the Hatzala is B'derech B'Zayon, or in to save your friend, you have to disgrace yourself. Since we learn from the pasuk V'Hashevoso that it says by Hashavas Aveda that you have to just not only return your friend's lost object, but you also have to return his body. But the limud is from a din of Hashavas Aveda. So Reb Shlomo Kluger was Mechadesh, a Chidush Gadol, that since with respect to Hashavas Aveda, it says V'his Alamta, that there are times when you are not obligated to return the lost object. And one of those times would be Zakain Ve'enu Lichvi Chvodo, if the person is an old man and it's not befitting his honor to return this object, he is patur from returning the object. So Huadin, says Reb Shlomo Kluger, that when it comes to saving someone's life, if it's going to be a bizayon, one is not obligated to save him. Mitzad Svara, this is very, very tamuah, very wondrous thing to say, that machmas bizayon, a person is going to be patur me'atzalas chavero, because as we saw from the Yerushalmi in the previous shir, even b'safek sakana, a person is chayav lahachnis atzmo in order to save his friend from a vadei sakana. So how can you say suffix sakana? Yes, you can endanger your life, but don't be misbazeh. Hard to say. And even according to our Gemara, it's not pasha what the Bavli holds. But al kol panim, you have to hire someone to save him. So to hire somebody, yes, but to be misbazeh, no. In the Sefer Atzei Chaim of the Kloisenberger Rebbe's Shver from his first marriage, Parashas Vayishlach, he discusses bizayon and Sarah de Gufa. If it's adif mimamun, not adif mimamun, so if you hold that money is on a higher plane than bizayon, then you would say that of course if you have to spend money, of course to save the person, of course you have to be misbazeh. So he brought a raya, Reb Shlomo Kluger brought a raya from the Gemara in Sanhedrin. The Gemara in Sanhedrin is a very, very famous Gemara. It says that there was a certain person who saw a woman and he got sick over her. He was literally lovesick. And they asked the doctors, what are we going to do for this guy who's lovesick? He's lying in bed, he's ill. So the doctor said, I don't know what medical school they went to, but the doctor said that the only refuah that this guy has is that he should have bia with her. So the Chum said, bia? Not married to her? Let him die. So then, the Gemara continues, that even if the doctors would have said that she should stand in front of him, unclothed, and that'll help him, he should die, and you shouldn't have to stand in front of him unclothed. And even if the doctors say it's even enough that he talked to her, she stands behind a fence, behind the mechitza, and he talks to her, it's also no good. Yamos, val yisap rima me'achorei hageder. Let him die first. I'm saying how strict we are about inyanei Arayos, even to talk to the girl. And then the Gemara says, it's machlokes amoraim. According to one opinion, this woman was an eshes ish. According to the other opinion, she was a pnuya. So if she was an eshes ish, so we get it. Why he's not allowed to be boel her, and then she's an eshes ish. But according to Mandarba, she's a pnuya, she's a single girl. A single girl. And says the Gemara, mishum pagam mishpacha. Because it's a big busha for her family. This is the girl who had relations with this guy who was lovesick over her outside of the framework of marriage. It's pagam mishpacha. So as for Shlomo Kluger, I don't understand. The mishpacha themselves are mechuyev to save him from misa, begufam or b'memona. So if they got to do everything to save the guy, then of course mishum pagam mishpacha, let their mishpacha be paguma. Let them get a bad name, let them have some embarrassment, but save the guy's life. So what do you mean mishum pagam mishpacha? So you see from here that you don't have to be mizbazeh in order to save someone's life. Pillay plus, it's Reb Shlomo Kluger. But Kloisenberger argues, and he says, no, maybe there it's different, because normally you have to be mizbazeh. But this guy brought it upon himself. He should have been able to control his passions. We can all do that. We all have control over ourselves. So control yourself. Get a hold of yourself, dude. So since it's his fault, we don't obligate the family to be mizbazeh. Minchas Chinuch in the Kometz Mincha, Mitzvah Reish Lamed Zayin, says that if somebody is committing suicide, there's no lo say an essay to save him. Big chiddush in the Minchas Chinuch. Normally, there's a mitzvah essay and lo say to save someone, but not here. So here, why the guy's causing it to himself? So here also, since it's goyrim la'atzmo, there's no chiv on the mishpacha. Gemara, maybe the guy wants to. Maybe the guy wants to. If she's a pnuya, maybe he just wants to look at her in order to check her out to see if he should marry her. And that's mutter. It's roy lasus. Ken, you're supposed to look at the girl before you marry her. Most of my friends are very firm guys, but they looked at the girl before they married her. They wanted to make sure that everything is cool in that area, that they find the girl physically attractive. So maybe that's what this guy wanted. But the maskan of the Gemara says V'lin siva. Let him marry her, and the Gemara says no, that wouldn't have been miyashiv his das. It's much more fun when it's an avera. So he wasn't interested in heter, he wanted iser. And that we couldn't allow, and that he brought upon himself. And is actually borne out by Yerushalmi and Shabbos, Perik Yadalit or Lechadalit. That it says there, the Pnuya ba'alma mutter l'kuli alma, that a Pnuya is mutter v'hach sh'notzim ha'ina b'achi eishasish. So here she's an eishasish. Or v'ista b'ay l'meimar, and some say isa rava hava havas v'lo minsiva. Chol maduhu ma'abed v'isa hava ma'abed begin kein aser lei. Karbaneda says because she was an Isha Gedola, and she wouldn't have been maskim to marry him. Rava Havis, she was the Isha Gedola. Below Mitzvah, she's not going to marry him. Chomadu Mabed, B'Isra Rava Mabed. And he wanted to do B'Isr. So he brought upon himself this Isser. Begin Kein Asr. Since he brought upon himself this Isser, this woman's not going to marry him anyway. And he brought upon himself this taiva. We don't allow it. Generally, you have to be mizbazeh, but not in this case. The Shach, in Yeredeya, and Siman Kufnan Zayin, Sifkat and Yud, talks about the famous machlokas between the Rambam and the Ramban. There's an Isser Torah to have kirva to Gili Arayos. One doesn't actually have bia, but one has kirvas basar to Gili Arayos that an Isser Daraisa. So he says that I have a raya for the Rambam, that it's Asr from this Maisa of Hela Libotina. And they didn't allow anything. So from the fact that the Chachamim forbade her, must be the Rambam is right that Kirva and Gilui Arayos is also Daraisa. But a very difficult raya to understand. One of the options there is Sipur Ima Me'achorei Ageder. She's going to stand behind a wall and she's going to talk to him. And the rabbis also answered that. That's certainly not Daraisa. So it must be they didn't even know Matir and Misuri D'Rabbanan. So they weren't Matir. It could be Kirva Arayos is only D'Rabbanan. But they weren't Matir any D'Rabbanans either. So he couldn't touch her, he couldn't talk to her. So what is the Shach trying to learn from this Gemara? That Kirva Arayos is Daraisa? They were clearly talking about D'Rabbanans, even Sipur Ima Me'achorei Ageder. The Tshuvas Rebbe Eliyahu Mizrahi and Siman Nuntes brought in the Mishnah Lamelech and Parakim Yisod the Atar Halacha Aleph. He was asked about a Kohen who married a Chalutza, which is a no-no, and he was forced to keep her. So does he have to be Moser Nefesh? And he says, Tainis Nefashos, to save your life, is the only other Averis, but not the Shloisha Averis. And even though an Isser Chalutza is only Midirabanan, it's not including Gilui Arayos, but since Bia is B'chal Gilui Arayos, and when it says Chutz me Gilui Arayos Avodas Dam Shvichus Dam Gilui Arayos and Avodas Zara, it's lav dafka these. Even their avizrayus, even their accessories, are also aser. And the raya is from this Gemara in the end of Perak Ben Sorah Mora and Ana Hamad Aleph in Sanhedrin that we learned together. Nosan Ein of Beisha. So you see, it's lav dafka Gilui Arayos bilvad, el afilu b'pnuya, afilu b'dibur be'alma. Even if she's single, even if it's just talking to her, even if it's Shalom b'fanav, all you have here is an Isser Anos Pnuya. So it's clearly even it's only D'Rabbanan, but you have to be Moser Nefesh for that D'Rabbanan. It's interesting there. Some communities they have a lot of intermingling between teenage boys and girls. But as long as you're Shomer Negiah, it's fine. You see from this Gemara, it's not so fine. Okay. Everybody in their Madrega has to try to go a step higher. So maybe Pshat in the Shach is that he's medaktik from the Gemara. That the Gemara first answered Livol, and then stand naked, and then to talk. So why did the Gemara just start with Lesaper? If we answer talking, we also answer the other ones. So maybe it's because each one is a Geder Bifnei Hatzmo, and it's B'derech Lo Zu Avzu. Not even that, but even that. And not even that, but even that. So we talk about Be'ila, L'mandomer that Pnuya Haisa. There's a svar to be matir, and nevertheless Chachamim answered. And then Lamor Aruma, stand naked. There's no Isser Bia. It's just Kirva of Gilui Arayos. It's Osir Min HaTorah. Another type of Kirva, Lamor B'fanav Aruma. And then it says Sipur. And Sipur is only D'Rabbanan. And nevertheless the rabbis answered. Now, if Kirva Arayos was D'Rabbanan, then Lamad Arum and Lesaper Imo would be in the same category. But from the fact that the Gemara broke it down into three categories, it must be, it's three different Gedarim. So the first is a Geder of Bia, which is the most severe. You might think she's only a Pnuya, the rabbis are going to be matir, she's single. No. And then Kirva of Gilui Arayos, looking at her naked. You would think there the rabbis are going to be matir? And the answer is no. And then Lesaper, which is only D'Rabbanan, Kirva is D'Oraisa. And here it's the Avizrayu of the D'Oraisa. It's not actually D'Oraisa, she's a Pnuya. But if she was an HSC, she would be D'Oraisa. So here it's Avizrayu of Arayos. It's called Arayos. It's called Kirval Arayos. Mishum Avizrayu, and you would think that's Asr. No, it isn't. And not only that, even the Sapri Mamechorei Geder, which even by Arayos is only Derabanan. So maybe that's Mutter. So therefore, Mucha Kedas HaRambam, that Kirv is Daraisa because each one's a different Geder. The Geder of Bia is the Geder of Lamed in front of Aruma. And that has to be Daraisa because the next category is speaking is only Derabanan. Otherwise, they would put speaking and standing in front of naked in the same category. So it must be two different categories, and one is Daraisa and one is Derabanan. So maybe that's what the Shach will have to prove from the Rambam. But a better teretz would be, based on what the Chinuch writes in Mitzvah Kuf Peiches, that part of the Yisur of Kirval Arayos is Shelo Yikrotz Lahem Biyadav, Yirmos Beinav. Now that a wink, you're now allowed to make all these signs, flirtatious signs, and even l'shmoa b'koyle b'chavona sheyehana ba'aser, even to listen to her voice, for the sake of getting hana from her voice. She has such a sweet feminine voice. It's also aser. It says klal adavish lo yasadim shum davar ba'olam aviu lidehir b'nashim lo b'maisa v'lo b'dibur. Anything that brings a person to hear b'nashim is going to be aser. Not b'maisa, not b'dibur. That's why there's a discussion in the poskim about listening to a woman lecturing, giving a talk, giving a drasha, a class. So, depends. If the person's kavana is to be nana from her voice, certainly from her appearance, aser daraisa, kirval arayos. And if it's just he's listening to the content, then one can be lenient, but not chas v'shalom if he has other motivations, other thoughts, other feelings. Anyway, so that's the Sefer Achinuch in Kuf Peiches. And maybe the Shach holds that Sipur Me'achorei HaGeder, since it's L'Shem Hana, that also would be an Isser Torah L'das HaRambam. Before we asked on the Shach, what are you proving from this Gemara? This Gemara, you can't prove that Kirval Arayos, touching them, or she's standing in front of him naked. You can't prove that that's Asur Daraisa, according to the Rambam, because they made him die rather than do that, because you even have Sipur Imam Achorei Geder, and that's clearly Darabanan. But according to what we're saying now, maybe Sipur Imam Achorei Geder is Daraisa, because his kavana is to have Hana. So you see that this Kirval Arayos is Daraisa, both to look at her, Chas Shalom, or to speak to her with unpure motivations. Or you can say, based on what we said earlier, that since he caused himself, he brought upon himself this taiva, and he should have been able to control himself, they weren't matir, even though he was going to die. And even only it's taka d'Rabbanan. Maybe the Ramban is right, it's only d'Rabbanan. But here the rabbis were machmer because he brought it upon himself. The los say d'Rabbanan, a kamadeus, a person has to give kol mamono. If it's a los say d'Oraisa, a person certainly has to give kol mamono. Not to be over all of his money, not to be over. Los say d'Rabbanan. There are opinions that even d'Rabbanan he has to give all of his money. Ayin pischei tshuva yoredei akuf nun zayin sif katan daled. And sif katan yud aleph, where he talks about the steer and the chavos yair in this. It's an essay d'oraisa, you don't have to pay more than a fifth. And if so, here, that we're dealing with a los seder rabbanan, this is very, very chamor. He would have to give his life. If it was an Isser essay about Bizraya de Gilei Arayos, he would have to be Moser Nefesh. And there you only have to pay a fifth. So therefore, a los say d'Rabbanan, a los say d'Rabbanan, you also have to be Moser Nefesh. Because if an Isser essay, which only requires you to pay a fifth, if it's Abizraya de Arayos, one has to give one's life, So certainly, if it's a losa say d'Rabbanan, which is chamor, because there you have to give all your money, there he certainly has to give his life. Maybe the whole thing is d'Rabbanan. And maybe it's like the famous Gemara in Sanhedrin, Memvav Amud Aleph. Somebody was rochev al sus b'Shabbos, and they gave him malchus. They gave him skila, not because that was what the halacha required at the time, but they went out of the regular requirements of the law, and they just gave him skila, just to make a point. That was what people needed at the time. Even though Apidina wasn't chayiv skila. So this guy also, he was garim la'atzmo, and the rabbis didn't want Arayos to get out of hand. Sometimes the rabbis have to take severe measures, so Arayos shouldn't get out of hand. So that's what they did here, even though the guy was going to die. So it could be that the Ramban is right, that it's only d'Rabbanan, but they still said he should die. And our Mahalach is borne out by the Kli Chemda brings. It's a good Maramakom Parshas Kiseitze on the pasuk Vashivosolo, Avkuf Pei Zayin Midat Pei HaSefer. He discusses Reb Shlomo Kluger's Chiddush at length. In Besoch Dvarav Bos Aleph, he brings from the Tshuvas Beis Yankiv that Gila Arayos is mutal letzorach hatzalas Yisrael. It's interesting, Machlokes Achronim. If a woman is allowed to give herself over, let's say that a guy is coming, there's a whole group of Jews, they're on an airplane, and the guy gets up there, and this Rahman al-Itzlan, and he points his gun, he's going to kill you all, you're all a bunch of Jews. I don't like Jews. Allah Akbar. So a woman comes forward, and she says to him, I'll give you pleasure if you spare us. So some Achronim say it's mutter. It's mutter to save the rabbin. Smaller chiddush is that to save Klal Yisrael, she's allowed to do it. So that's many people. But in this case, Hela Libatina, the rabbis asked her to feel the stakel because he was garim la'atzmo. And he brings the Chavas Yair, and the Chavas Yair in Siman Kuf Pei Beis is Marach Min Yankiva L'Gil Arayos. If it's Yehareg Val Yavor, and from Sof Perek Ben Sar Mor, this Gemara is no Raya. If that was a Hara Shah, it wasn't Asr Min Adin Min HaTorah. And then he brings that Maisa, the guy riding the horse in Shabbos. Even though it wasn't Chayiv Skila for that, but the rabbis still gave it to him in order that people learn a lesson. And also in the beginning of the Tshuvas Marach or Zarua, he brings from the Beis Menachem, who also goes similar to the Mahalach we've been discussing, Ayin Sham. And there's a lot more to say on this topic. And we should be Zelchem Mirz Hashem. The Musar from this shir is to have Shmiras Einayim and Shmiras Machshava, not to put ourselves in situations where our Yitzarim are brought to the fore. V'day l'mevin. And we should always remember, after all the shiurim, it's Sof Davar HaKol Nishma, it's Elokim Yirah, it's Mitzvahs of Shmor, Ki Zeh Kol Ha'adam. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.